welcome back to my knitting podcast. This is episode 2 and today is the 1st of December, the first day of Advent. So if you celebrate it, I hope you're having a wonderful time, and if you don't, I hope you're just having a great Tuesday. It is still cloudy in Scotland, so I'm going to do my best with the light that we have. So hello, welcome back if you're coming back. Hello if you're new, and I wanted to start by saying a huge thank you for the wonderful reception I had on my first video. I'm really delighted, all the comments and likes and subscriptions, that's really sweet, and I feel like really part of the community now, so thank you very much. I especially wanted to say thank you to everybody who left me some tips and tricks of some of my knitting situations, like what to do with my socks, my single sock problem, where I keep knitting single socks and mittens and not knitting the second one. I think I'm definitely going to try 2 at a time. I think that's going to be key for me, for my sock issue. I also wanted to give a special shout out to lovely Scottish podcaster and indie dyer Enchanted Yarns, who commented. I checked out her channel, the lovely Nina. Her yarns are so beautiful. I went and looked on her Etsy. I couldn't resist buying some, so I have some on the way and I will show you when it arrives. But hello Nina, thank you for subscribing. Your yarn is beautiful. And I just wanted to mention another podcaster who I really love, who is Meriwether Knitting, which is a lovely podcast from a woman in Germany who knits beautiful things for herself and her husband and her baby daughter. And yeah, I've been watching her podcast and really enjoying it, and she commented on my podcast, which was so sweet, so thank you very much. That's really kind of you. As before, I'm going to start with a poem. This one is by Marianne Moore. It's a very short poem, but it's one I've been thinking of a lot recently. It's called I May, I Might, I Must. If you will tell me why the fen appears impassable, I then will tell you why I think that I can get across if I try. I love that poem. It's a beautiful one. So I'm a poet, so I hope you don't mind these little poetic interludes. I find that it's just seamlessly part of my life, like knitting, and it flows into everything that I do. Okay, so to start with, I'm not wearing anything hand knitted. This is a bought, I think a thrifted, a second-hand jumper that is just hugely baggy and oversized, and I always want to knit myself something this baggy and oversized because that's what I love to wear, very baggy jumpers. But the thought of how long it would take to knit something this isn't quite thin, what I think the equivalent would be 4-ply, and I think it would take me a long time to knit it, and I'm not fast enough and I don't have enough of an attention span, so no, it's a bought one, but I like it a lot. I was thinking about that as I was going through my jumpers and thinking about what to put on for this podcast today, and I thought I actually don't have very many jumpers that I've knitted for myself. I tend to knit a lot for other people, for my children, and for friends and family, and just gifts in general. And even if I start something out planning it to be for me, often partway through I'll think, oh, actually I think this would suit such and such a lot better, or I think this person would really love it and it would make them so happy, and then I don't keep it. So yeah, I've made a bit of a knitting resolution for the new year that I'm going to try to knit some more things for myself, so I actually have something to wear for the podcast and for life in general. It's very essential in Scotland, especially at this time of year, to have nice warm cozy things, and I think I deserve them too. So I'm going to knit more for myself, but for now let's do some FOs. I have some things to show you. I said I was going to try really hard to finish my daughter's Christmas cardigan, her winter cardigan. It's from a book which I have somewhere around. Well, maybe not, maybe it's disappeared. The book, oh no, here it is. This is again a very old dog-eared copy of the Country Diary Book of Knitting that I got from a charity shop, which has got just these beautiful kind of slightly retro looking knitting patterns in. Look at these, so stunning. And I'm knitting a pattern called Snowflakes for Audrey. It's by Annette Mitchell, and I did finish it. I finished it a couple of days ago. I managed to get some pictures of her in it, and it's all washed and blocked and lovely, and you can see it here. It is in Artesano Aran. It is in this lovely blue and white, and as I said before, I didn't quite have enough of the blue in my stash, and because it's a discontinued yarn, it wasn't really possible to get more of it, so I just did the back plain white. But I think it's worked out okay. I think that looks just fine, to have the back plain white. I chose these really lovely buttons. I couldn't decide between these two, so I just chose both of them, and they both have little deer on them. One's white and one's kind of a wooden deer. The button band, as button bands do, especially with such quite heavy wool, and this is a wool and alpaca blend, so it is heavy. It is already starting to sag a little, I think. So I think I'll reinforce that with a ribbon. I have some really nice kind of festive ribbons. I have quite a ribbon collection too, like my button collection. It's a bit extensive. I love crafty things. I mean, I'm sure you do too, and that's why you're here watching this. But yeah, this is it, and I think it looks lovely. It suits her beautifully. It fits her well. Apart from the sleeves, I was so worried that the sleeves would be too short, because she's quite tall and she's got quite long arms, and I was sort of holding it up against myself thinking, oh yeah, I think her arms are about as long as mine now. She's 9, but and I'm quite short and she's quite tall, but actually they ended up being a little too long. But she's tried it on and she says that she likes them like that because they cover up her hands and keep her hands warm. So I've left it like that, also in the hope that she'll get more wear out of it, so hopefully then it will still fit her next year and won't be too short in the arms. So yeah, this is the Snowflakes Jumper by Annette Mitchell, which I knit for Audrey. I just love this snowflake pattern here. I think that's just my favourite bit of it. And I tell you what, the ribbing was just beautiful as well in this gorgeously squishy yarn. Yeah, so I've taken some video and some photos of her wearing it, which hopefully will be showing up on the screen, and it just looks so cute on her. She always, I mean, she looks fantastic in everything. She looks absolutely lovely, and this is no exception. I absolutely love making any kind of garment for her, any kind of jumper for her. Everything suits her so well. And I'm always just delighted with how everything turns out when I make it for her. She's one of my favourite people to knit for. So here is Audrey in her Christmas jumper, in her Christmas cardigan, and looking fabulous. What do you think? Do you like it?
Yes.
You pleased?
Mm-hmm.
You got the long sleeves, but it'll keep your hands warm.
Sleeve gloves.
Yeah. So what's it like having a parent who knits you things?
A lot of woolen jumpers.
Yeah. Is that what I make you normally? Jumpers and
yes.
jumpers?
You don't even try to, like, I remember you've made me a jumper for you and a jumper for Robin, but then it turned out being for me.
That's true. I often start things and then think, no, these would be great for Audrey.
I think those were actually just accidents.
Do you think they were?
Yeah.
I think I just can't help it. I just go on autopilot and knit things for you.
It was the size.
So what would you like me to knit you next?
I don't really care. All your knitting is great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So, yeah, this is a little cameo from Audrey B, Audrey Beatrix. This is my my lovely daughter. She's 9, she's fab, she's a knitting hero. And you knit yourself, don't you, Audrey?
Yes.
Yeah, do you like knitting?
Yes.
Oh,
Ish.
Ish.
Yes.
Sometimes, when you're in the right mood.
Yes-ish, yes. Definitely a not confusing answer.
Okay, so goodbye from me and Audrey for now. I'll be back in a second. Now I made Audrey's jumper as a companion to a jumper that I made for Robin, well, a slipover, like a vest that I made for Robin, my son, who's 5. I made Robin's first. I actually planned this one last year, but never knit it. I just charted it out. I've used like a lot of different kind of free charts online, and then I've made up some charts myself and just kind of meshed it together to make a colourwork thing, to make like a Christmassy slipover for him. And I made this one first, and then I thought, oh, if I'm making something for one, I should make something for Audrey too. But I thought I'd show you the slipover that I made for Robin because it's really cute. So here it is. Here's what's curling up a little. It's got his name on it. It's got this lovely light green and dark green, red and white pattern. And as I said, I made up the pattern for some bits, or used free patterns for other bits. I really love this little Santa with the deer bit here. But it's just really cute, and again the back is just plain, but I just did Christmas trees instead of his name. And it suits him so much. He looks adorable in it, and he will actually wear it. He loves it. In previous years he's not really understood Christmas, but he's getting there more and more this year. He says, "Who's that? It's Father Christmas." So he clearly, he's getting it to some extent. And today was the first day of Advent, and he opened his Advent calendar and was very excited, and then very cross and upset that he couldn't open all the rest of it all at once. So that was fun, a little fun adventure this morning. But yeah, so the two of them have their Christmas things. They're very different to each other, but then they're very different people, and I think it's nice to make stuff that kind of suits them individually. So yeah, that's my Christmas FOs. Now I thought what I might do this week is show you a bunch of my knitmas knitting. So in case you missed it last time, there is a fantastic knitter and designer called Sydney, or Squidney Knits on Instagram. I don't think she's on YouTube, but maybe she is. But Squidney Knits does a kind of festive knitting project every year called Knitmas, where she knits a lot of Christmas presents for everybody, all the people that she knows who are on her like knit-worthy list. And she keeps like a spreadsheet, and she goes through them all, and she has to like tick them off as she goes, and she does updates on her progress roughly each week, and says like how many yards she's knitted, and it's great fun to follow. And she invites people to follow along with the hashtag. This year it's hashtag Knitmas2020. So I've been doing that too. I thought this year it would be extra nice to make things for people, especially people who are far away, who I can't see in person. Now, I know some of the people that I am knitting for will be watching this. So I'm not going to say specifically who each thing is for, or I'm going to try not to. I'm just going to show you some of the things, and a lot of them have already been posted, especially to people who are overseas. But for people who aren't overseas, and I've not finished yet, I've still got loads to do, but I thought I'd show you some of the projects. Most of these are most of these are hats, I think. I've got one cowl and some mittens that I've not finished yet. Yeah, so you saw this last time, but this is a hat that is stranded with a strand of wool and a strand of mohair, and a pom-pom, because everyone loves a pom-pom, and it's a kind of slouchy. I'm going to try all these on. It's going to do mad things to my hair, so apologies in advance. But yeah, so this is like a slouchy slouchy hat, and just very plain and simple. And I made a similar one in a very hot pink, which is again nice and slouchy. I love this one. I love both of them. I want to keep them, but I'm not going to, because they're a set for a couple. I'm not saying which. I showed one of these I think last time. So these are, so these are a pair of cat ear hats for some little people, some smaller people. So I'll show you. They're just a knitted square, as I said last time. They're very quick to knit. But when you put them on the head, they make this kind of cat ear. Oh, well, yeah, they make like cat ears. They're very cute. So yeah, I made 2 of them. And here's another set for 2. Look at my hair already. 2 small people. These are for two brothers. So again, I showed you this one last week. So these are 2 just beanies for 2 brothers. And what else have I got? This one I showed you last time as well. It's not finished, but for a little friend. I mentioned last week about the black hat. Knitting in black wool is not my favourite. It looks really nice in the end result, and most of these have been in drop snow, which is a chunky 100% wool. Yeah, knitting in black wool is not my favourite because it picks up everything, so it was always covered in my cat fluff, and also it's almost impossible to see, especially in dark and overcast Scotland. But the end result I think is really nice. Here's the hat, and I'll pop it on. I don't think you can see at all on the camera very well, but it's like just a cabled hat. It's got some lovely squishy cables in, and it's very nice. And then I have this cowl, which actually goes with a hat, which is not finished yet. But this is just a lovely warm cowl for a nice person I know. So yeah, so that's some of my very extensive Christmas knits. So the cable hat here, I've made a bunch of them actually, and this is the classic cabled hat by Destiny Maya, which is a lovely pattern, and I really like it a lot. It's quick to knit up. It's a free pattern actually, and I can really recommend it. Yeah, so I think that's all for finished objects this week, so we can move on to my whips, my works in progress. I have just so many of them. Definitely not a monogamous knitter. One of the things I was talking about, the classic cabled hat pattern, well, it's also got mittens, a classic cabled hat and mittens by Destiny Maya, and somewhere here, again, I'm surrounded by knitting. This is a lovely way to be. Wish all of life could be like this, just surrounded by knitting. So yeah, here I have the first mitten in the pair. And again, I'm notorious for only knitting 1 mitten, but I've finished a couple of pairs of these already and sent them out. Here's the first one. It's a lovely pattern. It's squishy, it's very warm and cozy. I love the cables, and this yellow colour makes me happy. Use the ball of it. Again, it's drop snow, which is a really nice kind of, just a really soft, lovely, quick thing to knit with. It's lovely, and I've cast on the second one. It is it's in progress, slowly but surely. Oh, it's tangled up in my other knitting. Whoop. Yeah, slowly but surely we're getting there with the second one. So I need to get these done and posted out soon because they're going quite far as well in the post, and I'm just a bit wary about things arriving. So that's that one. there's no way I'm going to be able to hide who this next one is for, because it is for a small person who is friends with my daughter and has a really distinctive aesthetic. His name is Errol, and I'm pretty sure his mum, Eve Marie, who's my friend, is watching. So Ev, if you don't want to know what Errol is getting for Christmas, and Flora too, then maybe look away now. But if you don't mind watching, then by all means carry on. So a while ago I knit a jumper for Errol that was like a modified into a kid's version size of the Embrace octopus pattern. Now the thing you have to know about Errol is that he absolutely loves octopuses. Just cephalopods in general. He's a fan. And so I wanted to make that jumper for him for the longest time, and I made it over the summer this year, and he looks very adorable in it. And he chose the colours himself, and he specifically wanted a blue that was the colour of Neptune. Those were his words. So I had to think about it, and I found this one. This is Drops Alaska, which is a Aran weight pure wool, and he wanted the octopus in orange. So I made him that jumper, and it just looks fab on him. It's one of my favourite knits of this year, possibly of ever. It was so much fun, and it's so striking. But I had quite a lot of yarn left over from that, so when I was thinking about what to make him for Christmas, I thought maybe I could make him a hat to go with that jumper. So I cast on what's it called? The Brain Eater hat, which is by Vi Coffrin. It's a free pattern on Knitty, and here it is. Here's the start of it. It's got tentacles. Yes. It's got more tentacles than just the 8. So sorry, Errol, for the lack of accuracy, because I wanted them to go all the way around the head. I'm imagining it sort of looks like an octopus is grabbing you from the back of your head. So I'm imagining that it could be maybe several octopuses. Octopi? I don't know. Errol would know and chastise me. So here, I can try it on myself to show you what it's going to be like. It's like a kind of a beanie, and it's going to have... So I think I'm over halfway. I've just got to do a bit more tentacles and then do the decreases up at the top, and it's lovely. And I thought what I would do is, he's got a little sister called Flora who's very sweet, and I thought I might make her a matching one, since I know that their mum likes them in matchy stuff. But I thought maybe for hers I'd invert the colours, so have it orange with blue tentacles on, and that might be fun, and then they can be matching. So I actually do owe Flora a project, because I made this jumper for her brother. I'm going to make her, she wants a matching one with a rainbow octopus, and I'm a little bit stuck in calculating how to make it work for her size, because she's so much smaller, and the pattern's originally written just in, I think 2 adult sizes, so it's not got a wide range of sizes, and I had to quite heavily adapt it to make it fit Errol, so I don't know how I'd be able to adapt it to fit her, but I'm working on it. I'll get there at some point. And in the meantime, I've been knitting her a rainbow dress, because she likes to wear a dress and she loves rainbows. So I might show that in a future episode of what I have so far. And her birthday's around Christmas too, so it would be lovely to finish it for that. But realistically, it's quite slow going, and I have so much else on. So I'm just going to see how it goes. And see if I can get there in time. Okay, the lighting went kind of strange, so I've re-recorded part of this. I'm talking about my works in progress, and this is a really lovely one, I think. My stepmother, my dad's wife, she has been asking for a really long time for a pair of boot socks, of long socks to go underneath her welly boots. And she has an allotment. She's a very keen gardener, and she gets cold feet when she's working out on her allotment, and she's asked me for some long socks. So I'm finally getting around to knitting it for her, knitting them. And I sent a few different patterns to my dad to kind of cast his eye over and tell me what he thought would suit her best and what she would like. And he chose this one, which is, got my notes here again, because I can never remember it all. I can't. Maybe pre-children I would have remembered it all. This is the Stranded Boot Stockings by Carrie Anderson. It's a lovely pattern, and so I have started knitting those. I've knit the first one, and I am holding myself accountable. This is not going to be another single sock situation. I'm going to finish both socks by Christmas. You've heard it here. So this is the first sock, and they're quite lovely, I think. They're these stranded colourwork socks with this lovely pattern. I've done it in grey and red. My dad's jumper, which I showed you a bit of last week, is in grey and red and white, so I thought this way they'd be a little bit matchy. We always like to look at the inside of colourwork, don't we? There it is. You can see where it changes from the corrugated ribbing to the pattern here. Get a good chunk of it to see. That lovely zigzag. How nice, that's satisfying, isn't it? So it has this zigzag line that as you decrease, you decrease here at the zigzag, and it goes down to this single line here. And then I've not really properly blocked it yet, but you can see it's got this kind of checkerboard heel. It's just a slip stitch heel and a gusset to turn the heel. It's top down. I like a corrugated rib. Let's see. There. So yeah, I'm pleased with that, but I've got the other one to make, and it's in, the pattern's written in a sport weight. I've used like a light DK, but that's what I got gauge with. So yeah, now I have to knit the second one. I can do it. So that's that one. What else do I have to talk about? Let me see. Oh, so the wonderful Dunderknit of Knitting Vicariously podcast, who I just love. Her podcast is endlessly entertaining. She every year does a knit along called the Blame Dunder Knit Along, where you can cast on something that's completely ill-advised when you should be doing more obligation knitting, or you've not got time, whatever, but you cast on something anyway that you really want to, and you can blame it on her. So this is my Blame Dunderknit project, and the hashtag I think is Blame Dunderknit Along 2020, and this is it. I showed you a little bit of it last time, and I've not done much more, but I'll give you a little update. So it's in the Debbie Bliss Rialto sock, which is a lovely yarn that I was given as a gift, and this is what I have so far. So you can see it's quite see-through, it's quite a loose gauge. I'm knitting these on 3.75 needles. It's a 4-ply yarn. Now the pattern calls for 4mm needles, but I know that I knit quite loose, and I think you get to know your own kind of tension when you're a knitter who knits quite a lot, and I always knit quite loose, so I knew that this was would make more of the kind of fabric that I wanted if I went down a needle size. And it's a shawl, so it doesn't really matter. It's going to be okay in the end. I'll just knit it until it's big enough. But yeah, so this is the colours so far. You can see it's faded from this like very light yellowy green along to this darker, more tealy kind of green. But it's going to go through all sorts of different colours. So this is the big ball of yarn. It's got other greens. There's pinks in there. There's some yellow, even black and white. It's got lots of really nice, there's a bit of yellow peeking through, really nice colours. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the gentle colour changes throughout the whole piece and what that will look like in the end. And yeah, I've not done much on it because I shouldn't be knitting it. I should be knitting my gift stuff, but that's the whole point of the Blame Dunder Knit Along, that it's stuff that you really shouldn't be knitting on. So I do a few rows every now and then when I feel the need, but mostly I'm focusing on my should be knits. But another nice knit that's just for me and isn't a should be knit or a gift knit at all is the Camabornia Advent Mystery Knit Along. And Sophia Camaborn is just a lovely person, a wonderful podcaster, a wonderful knitter and designer. I love watching her videos. They make me feel calm and peaceful, which is really what we want this year, I think. 2020 needs more Sophia Camaborn. So I really love the Camabornia podcast, and when I saw she was doing this Advent Mystery Knit Along, I just had to sign up. I had to, even though I have no time. And it's a hat, it's in 4-ply yarn, and I can show you, I've completed the first clue. So if you don't want any spoilers for this Mystery Knit Along, if you've not completed the first clue yet, or you've not started, then maybe look away now for the next couple of minutes, but I'll show you what I've got so far. And if you remember, I was a bit anxious about the colours, that they wouldn't work together, because I chose 2 different greens and a white or a cream, and I was worried they wouldn't go, but actually I think they look really nice together. I think it looks beautiful, and you all gave me such great advice on it, and said, you know, go with it, and that it wasn't too subtle. Someone suggested looking at it under a black and white filter to see the contrast, which I think is a really good tip, and I'm so happy with it so far. It's subtle, but in a really nice way. So the pale green and the cream are Drops Flora, which is a roughly half and half alpaca wool blend, and the dark green is Lang Baby Alpaca, which is 100% baby alpaca. And so yeah, that's the first clue completed, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I think there's 4 clues released every Friday during Advent, and it's just really nice. It's nice to take part in these things at this time of year, especially this year when I can't really go and knit with other people. So it's nice to have like a virtual knit along, and we can all be cheering each other on. There's a hashtag on Etsy, and there's a group on Ravelry, and I think there's a group on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, but you can find me on Etsy. I'm Sugar Plum Robin on Etsy, and you can find me on Instagram as Sugar Plum Robin, and on Ravelry as Smachel. When I was little, my sister used to call me Rachel Smachel, and it kind of stuck. It became my nickname everywhere. So that is it. That was finally my final whip, my final work in progress. I have a lot of them, as I told you at the start. I have so many. I have more than this as well, but a lot have been put on hold during Christmas knitting time. I thought I would insert here a little bit of footage that I took of my blocking process when I'm blocking my knits after I've knit them, and whenever I want to wash them. I don't know if it's interesting. I imagine many of the knitters are already familiar with how this works, but for anyone who, I know there's some people who are watching who maybe aren't knitters, and there might be some people watching who would like just some tips on how to block. If you don't know how to block your knitting, well, let me explain it to you. So the first thing that I do is I run some lukewarm water into a sink or into the bath, depending on how big what I'm washing is, and then I put in a few drops of some kind of wool wash. I use Eucalan because it is no rinse, so you don't have to rinse it out. If I'm wanting to wash something that needs a little bit of softening, like when I was washing my son's jumper, his autumn leaves jumper, which was in the slightly more rough and rustic yarn, I would put in a few drops of hair conditioner, just normal hair conditioner, to soften up the wool. So then I put the garment or the piece of knitting into the water, and just leave it for 10-20 minutes, maybe longer, depending on, again, what type of project I'm washing, or whether it's dirty, like if I'm washing it instead of just blocking it at the end of knitting it. I leave it for a while, and then I gently squeeze the water out. And I try and do this without wringing it or rubbing it, because I don't want to felt the knitting. I know some people wet block their garments in the washing machine on a wool cycle or a gentle cycle, and I've always just been too scared to do that, so I don't. I just do it like that. I just do it in the sink. When I squeezed out all of the water that I can, I lay the garment out on a towel and put another towel on top, and then I roll it all up in the towel. And then comes the really fun bit, where you get to jump on the towel a bit and stomp on it and get all your kind of aggression out, all your frustration, stomp it to get all the water out. And then I shake out the towel and take out my piece of knitting. And then I take it through to, this is actually my kids' playroom, so it's always very messy, toys everywhere. And I lay out some alphabet tiles on the floor, and then on those alphabet tiles I lay out my piece of knitting, and I get it all just looking perfect, everything straight and neat and tidy. And then I use pins to pin all the edges. I know some people use blocking wires or different kinds of pins to these, and I haven't, just because I don't have those, and I know I probably should get some, so maybe they're on my wish list, let's say. But for now, I like the kind of the slow, gentle time taken to pin it out, pin by hand. And it's this time that you spend with your lovely knitted piece. This has come with me, this piece of knitting, you know, into the woods. It's sat with me by fires. It's been on my lap while I've read bedtime stories to my kids. It's spent, you know, a month or so with me wherever I go. And this is my time to finish it with care and love and admire it, and I like to take my time over it and be a bit precious about it, and thank it for all that time with me and wish it well for the future. So then once it's all neatly pinned and laid out, we leave it to dry, and it can take several days for something, especially this is quite a thick jumper. It can take a really long time to dry. I don't necessarily always pin out my garments every time I wash them, depending on how well they wash and how nice they look when they've been blocked, but generally I like to, if I can. It makes a nicer finish. So that's how I wet block my finished knits. Okay, I will show to you now some of my yarn acquisitions and talk about some of my yarn plans and my knitting plans, which kind of goes hand in hand. So yeah, I mentioned last time I have this lovely yarn by Mr. B of Birdstreet Knitting, an independent dyer. It is gorgeous. It has all of these lovely colours kind of speckled on this kind of pale aqua blue base. It sort of matches my jumper actually that I'm wearing right now. And I mentioned that I'd ordered some 4-ply yarn that was a kind of golden brown colour that I thought might go with it, but that I'd have to see them side by side to see if they would, and it arrived, and I'm really happy to say that I think it goes really well together. I'll let you decide. So this is the Novita Venla 4-ply. Here it is, it's this lovely kind of golden colour, and I think, can you see it picks up some of these golden speckles really well, so I think those will be really nice together. And I had this idea that I would knit a pattern called Chanterelle by Kia from Kia's podcast, and I love Kia's podcast. It is gorgeous. There are so many lovely knitting podcasts. We are spoiled by them. But she made up a pattern for herself to use a beautiful kind of skein of hand-dyed yarn that she had, that she wanted to pair again with a commercially dyed yarn. And she made this jumper pattern called Chanterelle, named after the mushroom. It's not really got anything to do with mushrooms apart from the colour of hers was quite a mushroomy colour. It's got stripes at the top, and then lace at the bottom. It's kind of empire waisted, and it's got like a band around the waist of colourwork of these flowers, these quite big flowers. So I thought, and it's got quite fitted sleeves, so I thought maybe this for the sleeves and the stripes on the body, and this one for the colourwork, and then the lace at the bottom might look quite nice. So I have that as my plan. I don't know if it will turn out like that. I don't know about you. When you make knitting plans, do you always follow them, or do you sometimes kind of veer off course? When you buy yarn, do you always have a clear plan for it, and then do you stick to that plan? I often find I'm quite bad for just spontaneously casting on something really random that I never planned for at all, that something catches my eye. I'll see a pattern maybe on Instagram or somewhere, and I just think, oh, I've got to make that. Cast it on right away, and just ignore anything that's in my queue or in my plans. So that's currently my thought, that's what that will become. We'll see if that pans out. I was talking as well last time a bit about how I would love to make myself a mohair jumper with a strand of mohair and a strand of wool. And so I've bought myself some mohair. This is Drops Kidsilk in the colourway Vanilla, and it is so soft. It's like a cloud. So it's a lace weight mohair and silk, and the colour is this lovely warm creamy neutral, and I think it's gorgeous. I'm not sure what wool I'm going to pair with it to hold double. I'm gonna maybe have a look in my stash and see if I've got anything that would work well. You see, I'm not even sure what weight I want for the wool to hold with it. I'm just gonna see what sparks my interest and my inspiration for this. But I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a while before I'll be able to cast on. I think this will maybe be a New Year knit, because I have so much gift knitting to do, and then I have a bunch of other whips that I need to get off the needles before I can really cast anything else on. There's only so much you can blame on Dunderknit, is what I'm learning. So yeah, those are my plans. I have vague plans to knit a cabled jumper or maybe a cabled cardigan for myself as well, when I've been thinking about what am I going to make for me next year, but that's very much still an idea. If you have any suggestions for cables, then let me know. I'm really I don't make as much cabled stuff. I make a lot of colour work, and maybe it's time for me to make something with lots of lovely cables on. So if you have a suggestion or a pattern you've made that you really liked, then please drop a comment and let me know. I will definitely check it out. I'm open to advice and ideas. So that's about it from me for today. I hope that everything you're knitting is turning out beautifully. I hope you are knitting lots, squishing lots of yarn, staying warm, staying safe. I hope that if it's appropriate for where you live, that you get snow this year. I hope that all your knitting plans are panning out, and above all that you're just surviving through this really chaotic time. And I will be back next week. So I'm going to finish with another poem as before. This poem is another really short one, but a nice one, and one that I think about as the days are getting shorter. This is by Philip Larkin, and the poem is called Days. What are days for? Days are where we live. They come, they wake us, time and time over. They are to be happy in. Where can we live but days? Ah, solving that question brings the priest and the doctor in their long coats, running over the fields. So stay safe, stay well, and I will see you next week. Thank you very much.